Hello, welcome to We Do Tarot. And yes, that's a play on words because literally in French it means yes to, and then tarot misspelled. But that is like a Cajun French way of spelling it. And I used to live in Louisiana and now I live in New York. Um, and so that's why I like to spell it that way because everything like with an O sound is spelled like go, okay? It's spelled Geaux in Louisiana. Not literally, but that's what they put on all their signs and things like go Tigers, go Saints. So that harkens to my love for Louisiana, okay? So um I've been interested in tarot for a long, long time. I am 42 years old right now, but I didn't get my first tarot deck until 2019, I think, and that was because I have an affinity for crows. Okay. And so I had been watching a lot of tarot readers online because I didn't even know that this was a thing that existed until one day it came up on my YouTube feed as like an automatic video that came on. It just came on. Right. And so sometimes this is like how spirits and whatever things that are not obvious to us in our external environment sort of feed us with some guidance that we need. So this was how I discovered it was because I had like YouTube playing on my TV while I was trying to get stuff done around my house. And a tarot reader came up and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. I had had a couple of tarot readings done, but they're expensive if you're going to see a reader, and I couldn't afford it at the time, and I wasn't looking for that type of guidance at that moment, but I was in a very sort of shadowy time in life where I couldn't seek help or guidance from anybody I knew because nobody that I knew was going through what I was going through. So, or had been through it. So nobody could give me advice. So it was, but the tarot reading spoke to me immediately. I was like, holy cow, how is this happening right now? So that started this journey, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, of me watching other readers and getting interested in it myself. So initially I watched YouTube videos about like what all the cards mean. Um, and then, you know what, maybe I did get a deck first at Five Below and it had like a book with it, but I don't think that was the order. I think the order was that I got this my I'll show you in just a second. But I was in a big time of transition. And then once I made that transition where I moved from Louisiana to New York, I was thinking about it because I have an affinity for crows and they seem to be sort of like my spirit animal. And I kind of think that these things are silly to say, right? Because I'm very no nonsense and grounded. And if you want to know, I'm a Capricorn sun sign, if this means anything to you. Capricorn sun sign, Sagittarius is my rising sign, and then I have a Leo moon. And then I think my Venus and my Mars are in Capricorn and so on and so forth. We have aspects in our astrological birth charts that are everywhere. It's like we have bits and pieces of every sign, and every sign influences us. Whether or not that has any meaning to you, um it's still kind of like a fact if you know what astrology is. So the point is that because I'm a Capricorn, I tend to be very grounded, and I'm like, you got to show me the proof if you want me to believe something and invest my time in that. Because otherwise, I'm just like, doing things that are most efficient and trying to follow rules. So, let me just kind of like fast forward this so we can get on to the reading. But I had moved to New York and I was thinking, boy, I wonder if they have Crow Tarot deck. That was just a thought. Okay. I didn't say it out loud. I didn't share that thought with anybody. And then I was on Amazon looking for something like a health product. And at the bottom of the page, you know how they have suggested purchases. And this was like back in 2019. So I don't know if maybe it's changed since then, but there was a suggested purchase for something called Crow Tarot. And I was like, no freaking way. Okay. So I was like, I just gotta buy it. Cause I think I was 35 at the time. And I was like, I don't really care if what I'm interested in is approved by all the people around me. Okay. All the people around me have never led me down a path of where I felt really rejuvenated and where I felt like I belonged. I just never feel like I'm at home. It was 4:44 when I was just looking at the timer. So that to me means angelic presence. Okay. By the way, I am not a seer. I don't hear things. So what I know is just what I know. And I believe that that is called claircognizance or clairsentient. I don't. So, but I'm sure that you know these things. So I am just, let's move forward. I'm going to show you that even though I learned traditional tarot, it never could stick with me. And I am good at remembering things. So for the fact that I could never like stick with what is the traditional Celtic cross and all this other stuff. I'm like, and I was watching all these readers online and they're just going, they're going on the fly and they're doing amazing things. And I just believed that, okay, if this is something that's meant for me, then it's going to come to me. My own particular way of doing it and, you know, ideas for readings, they're going to come to me. So this is something that kind of evolved over time. And this seems to be something that I really enjoy. All right. And the people who I read for enjoy it too. So I am going to push this camera back. And over time, um, I will give you more information on like, why I have things the way that I do. I had already tried recording this video once, but I didn't have my microphone plugged in. So I started it over again. But I took a lot of salt. This is the first thing that I do is I take a little bit of sea salt. And I think that sea salt is more important for um sort of attuning to energy and ideas that we can't see. So I eat some and then I give you some to eat. All right. And also, salt is an electrolyte and our heart functions on electricity. And that is like large crystal Celtic sea salt. As far as I know, this is like the most highly recommended brand of sea salt. And then there is Redmond's real salt. And I have both of those. And I tend to use the Redmond's for when I'm cooking. And that is an earth salt, right? And that is a sea salt that I just showed you. So I think it's really important to have both. And what I think is least important is sodium chloride, like table salt, because that only has two minerals. And natural salts, they have like 86 minerals, I think. And these are trace minerals that you really don't get from anywhere else, like seaweed and things like that. You can get these trace minerals from those things. But how many of us are eating seaweed every day? Okay. So you can like get some of the minerals from the ocean through the salt. All right. And then the next thing is Florida water. Okay. And nobody in my environment is into the things that I am into like this that I know of. So I have never been mentored in any of this stuff. But I don't know when I first heard of Florida water, but I had to go to the Botanica to get it. And it's just widely known as like a spiritual protective factor. So I put a little bit on my hands, I kind of like just cleanse my system in it. Sometimes I feel like I'm supposed to touch certain areas of my body, and if you know of the energy centers of the body, it makes sense why we would feel that way. And we have energy that extends out beyond ourselves, especially the heart. It's like they say it extends like 3 feet out beyond yourself. So, so I am an energy healer too. It just does feel like it needs that movement. But it's only because I believe that it makes sense that we have an energetic body outside of ourselves and within ourselves. And this is where like emotions and things like that get trapped. And then you have to do something to clear it out, right? You can't take Tylenol for a broken heart, right? So how do we clear these things out instead of it just creating like this traumatic entity within our space that can turn itself into a physical manifestation of illness, all right? Um, if you don't believe that's true, that's okay. But it is. And, you need to be working on yourself, mind, body, spirit, right? Or body, mind, spirit. And I like to say it that way because that's how I do these readings. So this is a very inexpensive deck that I got from Five Below. And because that Crow Tarot deck, I did end up getting it. And that is what we will be reading for the spirit part. But I I think it is best to learn with traditional tarot cards. And so these are like traditional. Um, but yeah, I got it from Five Below. So it just doesn't speak to me with like the same kind of energy that the other two decks do. I think it's kind of like it has meanings on it, which I don't love, but that's why I relate it to the body because what's happening in our physical world, in our bodies, in our daily lives, it's like so not important. It's kind of what induces fear and it takes up most of our time, but it's not most important. So when cards come out and I feel like they want to be seen. So I do accept them. All right. And this is a beautiful one to come out. So strength. And I would say there it's an 8, and then there's the infinity sign over this woman's head. And there's the lion. And normally we think of the strength of a lion, but the reason why the strength card has the lion as the that's not representing the strength. It's this woman who can tame the lion and come close enough with it to allow the lion's allowing it to for her to touch it. So, but we have, let's see, at the bottom, we have the Queen of Swords in reverse. And the Queen of Swords is like verbal communication, it's thoughts. So I'm going to teach you about the cards. That's kind of how I do my the readings. It's like not so much a story that's playing out, it's more me describing what the cards are. So let's just get into it, okay? So what I would tell you to do is to pick 6 cards. So I am going to do that, and then we're going to build a reading off of that. All right, and I am going to refocus the camera down so where you can see it, okay? And this might take some adjusting, but I want you to be able to see how I'm placing them, because this is how the story kind of plays out. All right, so at the bottom of the deck, another infinity sign, we have the magician. All right, and the magician creates everything out of everything. And to see that in the physical space right now is amazing, because that means it's present. It's present. We're doing things that are working on actually creating change in our physical life. Okay, so at the top of this, so this is kind of like an inverted triangle, right? We have the Hanged Man in reverse. We have the Page of Wands in reverse, and we have Temperance in reverse. Okay, so let's say that this is kind of the past row. All right. The Hanged Man, when it's in the upright, you're putting yourself into an uncomfortable position in order to see things from a new perspective until you feel enlightened, and then you can take yourself down and start over again. But when it is in this, kind of feels like you don't need to be doing these things anymore because you moved beyond them. This is like in the past, right? So then we have the Page of Wands in reverse. And the Page of Wands, it's like childish energy, right? So young energy. And it's got this new creative endeavor that it's interested in. Okay. And I feel like it's upside down because you moved past just the childish phase of it. Now, I take this reading to be really for myself. Okay. But I believe that if you are seeing this, then you are vibing in the same energy. Okay. And we all have, like, these can apply to everybody because we all have common emotions and things that we're going through that, you know, they should resonate universally with us. So we have Temperance in reverse, and Temperance is a major arcana card. So is the Hanged Man. So when these things come in, it's like the they have messages that show up in the other cards that are the non-major arcana, okay? But when it's major arcana cards, it means that that is like the big daddy of the energy, all right? So it means that these are big energies. So I believe that the Hanged Man, you were using that position in order to um really change things, okay? Because you weren't happy with the way that things are going, but now they're in reverse because you're sort of like moving on from these things. And Temperance is all about alchemy. It's about changing lead into gold, right? That's like what alchemy is all about. And there is this angel, right? So there's an angelic presence helping you to do this, but they've got 1 foot on land and 1 foot on water. So they are grounded and intuitive. All right. And that's how they got through and made these changes. All right. Then we have the 8 of Pentacles in reverse. And I do believe that what this is all showing are like old beliefs that you're moving out of, or that I am moving out of. And the 8 of Pentacles, Pentacles are the material world. Okay. So it's like your things, your money, your job, and like your house and all the things that you have. So the 8 of Pentacles, it means um that it's almost like your skill or the thing that you work on. And so when it's in the upright, it just means kind of like keep your head down and keep working on that thing. But it's in reverse right now. So that to me is showing, if the magician is at the bottom of the deck, then that is sort of the meaning that is covering this whole reading. And it means that there is magic at play right now. So things are not going to move in the normal. space in which they move on Earth. Okay. It's almost like a quantum leap that's occurring here, that you don't have to keep your head down anymore and wait. And that's because this tower in the upright, this is another major arcana card. And the tower in the upright is that things have to change. So it's like when you are scared of making a change, God will come in and make the change for you. Okay. So something will occur outside of your control in order to shake up and shake out the people who don't belong there anymore, to show that you're not on like a stable foundation. You're not in the, like this. It looks like a castle, right? This tower, it looks like a structure that should be stable for the ages, but it's collapsing because it wasn't safe for you. So it's coming down, and that should make you feel good, because when things happen outside of your control, you know that they're happening for you. All right. And then you rebuild with God on a stable foundation, but you have to do it through detachment and surrender to the fact that you are not in control of it. And what this all boils down to, and this is so beautiful, is the Five of Pentacles. This is a feeling of being left out in the cold. I think of this as being like a church, a cathedral. So inside of a church, there's faith, there's community, there's warmth, there's acceptance. You don't have to pay to go in there. It's just a place of acceptance. And yeah, there's some rules in order to like fit in and belong in this church. And sometimes, like, this being left out in the cold is that you don't feel like you belong, that you're not in community. And so that you are lacking like material evidence in your surroundings that you have belonging and foundation, but it's in the reverse. Okay. So these things are all leaving your your body realm. Okay. The realm of like the earth. So I'm going to move these out of the way because they do go flying when I go to move on to the next deck. But I am so, this is definitely definitive of stages that I am going through right now, because when I have done these readings in the past, that's not at all the type of energy that comes through me where I feel positive about them. Okay. So now I'm going to move on to the mind aspect. And this is sort of where our body and our spirit come in contact with each other and mix it all up for confusion. So we are using this for clarity. Okay. And just as I'm taking it out of the box, we have the Page of Cups. Um, so I am not going to maintain that. We're going to shuffle it up. Oh, and the deck that we were just using, that is the only deck that I allow reversals in, because I like to have a variety of insight on what's going on. But with the other two decks, I like them only to be in the upright. So when I cut them and I start shuffling, um, this seemed to want to be shown. This is like meditation on your thoughts. But I cut them and I shuffle them so that they maintain their upright position. So if ever something comes out in an upside down position, then it means that that has real significance. And the page, like I said earlier, pages are like a real childish energy. And the beauty in a childish energy is that it's innocent. It's not like, it's asking why, and it's seeing wonder in the world. And you need that. If you want to like clear up your life, that's the kind of energy that you should be looking to. Okay. And so the cups is emotional fulfillment. Oh, and look at this. So this was sticking out. This is the Two of Cups. All right. So here in our mind right now, we realize that emotional fulfillment is important, and it's coming through, and it's mixed up in with like spirit is delivering this to you. All right. So that it can come through in your world and you can see it present. That's the thing, is like, if it's showing up in your mind, it's showing that it's important to you as some part of like the physical world that you want to create. So with this one, I do an upright triangle, and it would be towards you. But like I said, this reading is like for me, so I'm doing it towards me. Now I don't always just go from the top of the deck, but I do what feels right. Okay. So that felt right. The Lovers, okay? And yeah, there's nudity on the card, so I gotta like cover it. But the Lovers. So we had the Page of Cups. That's this like childish fulfillment of emotional desires, right? You want like your cup filled up. So if you listen to the Page of Cups, because the Page of Cups is actually like listening to this fish in the card. It's like the fish is talking to it. And only a child would believe that you can talk to a fish for emotional fulfillment. But that is the energy that was feeding to bring you to the Two of Cups, right? Which Two of Cups is somewhat in partnership, or it's partnership within yourself. So let's say it's spirit and your body coming together in your mind for partnership for your emotional fulfillment. And then we see the Lovers, right? So this again, it can mean like just unification within yourself. But once you achieve unification within yourself, that's when you can draw in a partner that wants you, doesn't need you, wants you, and that you want them. Because there's a wholeness. You will not draw in a fractured partner if you are whole within. It's an impossibility of magnetism and how that works, polarities. Okay. So let's just see what's at the bottom here at our foundation. Okay. So we have, oh my gosh. Okay. There's so much like power and strength that's going on right now. We have the King of Pentacles, we have the Eight of Wands, and we have the Emperor. So again, Pentacles are about your like richness in your life. If you want to think about physical, material abundance, all right? And the King of Pentacles, he's like the top of the top of the heap when it comes to the court cards, right? So there's what I call the major arcanas and the minor arcanas. And so, but the court cards, if you think of like royalty, the royal court, they have power, right? They had to earn their way to get there. So the king, he knows exactly how to make money, and he is like in your mind, whether it's you, whether it's a person outside of you, whether it's an environment. You have this power right now within your mind. You can use it. This is what it's doing. It's like spirit's giving you permission to use this power because it came to you as a thought. And this Eight of Wands card is all about fast moving messages. Now the swords are about actual thoughts and words and communication, but this like, and the wands are about creativity, and that's like spirit driven creativity. And the Eight of Wands represents messages coming in fast. Okay. And so that has to do with creativity, and they're delivered to you from spirit. All right. So then we went from like the king to the emperor, and they're both sitting on thrones, but the emperor is the major arcana version of the king, right? So I tend to think of the emperor as having the power of all the kings put together, sitting on a throne. He doesn't have to like, he's holding some, I don't know tarot well enough to understand what he's holding, but if you look, it's like they're both holding a scepter, and then they're both holding a golden circle or a sphere. It's like he's holding a coin and he is holding this golden sphere. Okay. So it's like there's this interplay between the king and the emperor, um and these spiritual messages are coming through to keep that conversation going, and this is just like an incredible foundational energy that you have. The next row up, we have the Seven of Swords and the Temperance. Now Seven of Swords generally kind of gives like a ick feeling, right? But what I like about this is that this guy is like real cocky looking in this. And I know it's a little bit hard to see because of the reflective deck, it's golden. Um, but I think of it as he's holding five swords, and then there are two swords left over. Now, the Two of Swords card is one of indecision, but five in numerology represents change. And it's like, do you know what? All these like thoughts and stuff like this, all these things that people have been saying to me, I'm walking away and I'm changing. I'm using that to change, right? So he's walking away with these five swords. So in this reading, this is not like a negative card. This is very positive. Okay. You're using all the crap that used to hold you back, and now you're moving forward with it. And now look at this. The Temperance is in the upright. You're using this to, along with spirit, along with angels, to create this alchemy, right? So you are transmuting all the negativity into things that you can use for positive growth. All right. And I could go into more and more layers of meaning to this, but I'm trying to keep this somewhat short. So let's look and see what's at the top. And this is so beautiful. The Queen of Cups. So the Queen of Cups is, if you think in terms of kings and queens or feminine and masculine, um, the king gets people to do what he needs them to do because they respect him. This is like in the healthy energy, okay? So like if they're just royalty and they get to the throne just because they were born into it, that's kind of what happens in the earthly plane. But in terms of tarot, it's because they earned their way there by fighting the battles, learning everything, and getting there through their own personal experience. And then people do what he needs to get done because they realize that the king has the best experience. So if we are listening to him, then we know that everything that we're getting done is beneficial for everybody. Okay. But the queen, it's that people want to do things for her because she is intelligent and she is receptive. Okay. And it's like, um, the queen magnetizes people to her because they want to know what she knows, right? They want to be around her somewhat maternal energy. And because she's the queen of cups, she has complete comfort with emotions and emotional fulfillment. And so that is what you're drawing in, right? These are like all super big powerhouses on your side. This is all so positive, all right? Or on my side. All right. So let's do this together. So I am going to move these over and then we are going to move on to the spirit deck. Okay. I'm going to pause it just for a moment. Okay. So this is the next deck that I use, and this is the original one that I was talking about that came up as a suggestion on Amazon. And then when I got the deck, um, I was like looking at the side of it, and I look at this. Okay, look at this tattoo that I have. I had designed this tattoo for myself when I was 22, and it was inspired by the movie The Crow that came out in 1994, which I was just completely obsessed with from the point of which in 94, I was 11 years old. So from that point on, it just like changed something in me and created this sort of basis for meaning of what love is, what a love story is. And for me, that's kind of where it's at. It's not like these Disney stories and things. It's like, I guess it's how dark, how love is like, boy, it's hard for me to say it. So it's just that sometimes things look dark and they're not, they're a love story. Okay. So I won't try to get into it more than that. But I designed this tattoo in 2005, I think it was. Yes, 2005. And that's when I got it done. And then, so when I got that deck, I was like, oh my gosh. And then I looked in to find out more about it. And it's based on, artist in Seattle. And I had this incredible experience in Seattle where I was walking across a street and I saw a crow hop from the top of a building and fly down towards me. And I thought, oh my gosh, what is it going to do? Because I don't want to be scared of crows. And so it just flew past me on my right side. And it flew so close that its wings actually like blew my hair back, right? It's not because they were touching them. It's because like the flapping of its wings was so close that it like flew my yeah, it pushed my hair back. So that was just an incredible experience that I thought was, I don't know, I just didn't really know what to think of it. But the artist of this deck, she said that she created this artwork because she lives in Seattle and it was inspired by the crows in Seattle. So what I had found out later after like getting this deck and learning more about tarot is that your first deck is supposed to be gifted to you, but I don't have anybody in my environment who would do such a thing. So I took it as a gift from spirit. Okay. So I feel like it was gifted to me. And that was my verification was like this painting that she made. It's like the same size. It's like the same size as my crow. Okay. So anyway, I do feel like my first deck was gifted to me. And taking it out of the box, we have the star. Now, the star is like everything that you wished for, everything that you wish upon a star for is coming to you. And this is another major arcana. This is being granted now. And this is up in our God space, right? That's what I see this deck as. It's like my God space. It's my spirit. All right. So again, we shuffle. We've got the Knight of Wands, and that is fast moving energy, and the knights are something of like the 20-year-old energy. Oh, we have strength again at the cut. Okay. And what else? The star. Okay. Well, maybe that makes sense that we have the star again, but I won't get too into it. But this is how a reading can last forever and ever and ever because you can just keep seeking meaning within the meaning, you know? Okay. This is like a larger deck. This one kind of wants to flip and change direction. So I am going to take a look at what it is. That's okay. That's nice. That's the 10 of swords. That means a death of thoughts and old communication that wasn't working, right? That was like the 7 of swords, how you were transmuting that energy, or I was transmuting that energy of like all the nonsense that people used to talk. It's all their fears. It's not mine. Okay. So that one, it's like it was shifting sideways because that stuff is done. You don't need it anymore. All right. Ooh, okay. All right. And I saw that as I was shuffling too. All right. So these cards are important and they wanted to be seen. So again, we have strength and these are both eights. Holy cow. All right. We have the 8 of cups and we have the strength card, which is an 8. So that's the major arcana, right? That almost is like capping off an 8 energy for itself. And the 8 of cups means leaving behind emotional baggage. Okay. That's exactly what it is. It's like all these cups that have like taken from you. Let's see say these 8 cups are representative of like people who took your love and your energy and your yeah, they took from your heart and they filled up their own cups, and yet they didn't like give you anything in return. So this is you moving beyond all this stuff because the people closest to you have not been emotionally fulfilling you. And though you love them for everything that they were in your life, it's like now you realize that it's time to move forward. It's time to move forward into a direction that you can't necessarily see where the outcome is, but you have to cross over this like there's a mountain in the back, there's a crescent moon, so it's not even a full moon. You don't have clear guidance. But I do see like this horse with its head down, and I don't think that that's what it is up here, but that's what I'm seeing right now. It's kind of like this horse of like, hey, uh, let's just move forward. Okay, we're gonna move forward together. Or I'm gonna put those back in the deck, and then I am going to choose the 6 that I feel drawn to. All right. Okay. Why I want to keep doing that one, even though there was only one card left. Okay. I'm just gonna leave it like that. And this one, I kind of like, I never feel like I'm just supposed to pick from the top, but these, okay, these do feel like that. All right, so I'm gonna let it be as it is. And at the bottom, look again. So what this portion of the reading is about is the fact that this stuff is done. All this stuff is done. This old mental torture and the slowness of how things move in the earth realm, that stuff is all done. And you had the magician, right? You had the magician here saying that like all things are possible now in your earthly realm. All right. Okay. So, man, I love it when cards confirm each other. So let's see what we got here. Oh my gosh, all these eights. Okay. So we have the 8 of wands, and I already told you what that was about. That's like creative ideas and messages coming in fast, and they're coming in from spirit. Okay. And then we have another 8, and this is 8 of swords, and that is a mental prison that you are in. Um, and then there's a blindfold on, okay? But the blindfold is pinned down by one of the swords. So all it takes is for this bird to fly off outside of this nonsense, which you can absolutely do because we already had this, right? And then underneath it, we have, I'm not going to go crazy with all this stuff, but look, underneath that one, we had the 2 of swords, which is indecision. It's like this blind indecision because it's a thought of like, what should I do? What should I say? I don't know. I can't see. The thoughts are crossing. I don't see clarity. And then we have the death, right? So this is the major arcana card of this 10 of swords card. So you're getting confirmation, confirmation, confirmation. And this is coming from like spiritual confirmation that all this old mental suit and this slow way of doing things and this like keeping yourself held back. And then look at what was under that. That's the last. I'm going to go deeper into this deck. The 8 again. All right. So we've got all these 8s and we had the magician, which was the 8. Okay. So let me put that stuff back down. Oh, death is an 8 too. No, I'm sorry. Death is a 13. It can't be 2 major arcanas with the number 8. Um, so yeah, put that one back down too. And then we have the high priestess. And this is why you don't have to do this anymore, okay? Because the high priestess is the ultimate magnet for intuition and truth, okay? And she does not get overly emotional, all right? And that's because she thrives on her intuition. And she knows what's right. When you thrive on your intuition or you learn to tap into it, you do not have to question your intentions. It's your intuition. All right. That is the intention. It is that you're going from something deep within you that you understand to be truth. And then because this is what happens is that then your mind is like, oh, no, 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 I can't do all those things because it's scary. And this is why. And that's like, it's a fake mental prison. You absolutely can because you have the movement, right? From spirit. All right. Then we have the Ace of Wands and the Ace of Swords. I cannot believe how much positive energy this all is. When you have aces, that is a new thing coming in from God, from spirit. Okay. So the Ace of Swords came first. So this is like, okay, so you had the death of all those mental jibber jabber, right? These two cards, like, I don't know, right? It's like, okay, so the high priestess, she's like, you don't have to know. I know. And I'm going to give you those insights. They're coming in to you quick from spirit. Okay. And it's going to be creative ideas. It's like, oh, what should I do next? The message is going to come in fast. All right. And it's not from this place. This is a place of slow nonsense. And it's a place from this mental, like, I can't do it anymore. So after that stuff dies, don't worry, you are not going to be left without guidance because you have the Ace of Swords. God is giving you an idea and it's a creative idea. Okay. He's giving you that creative. So he already built you for this thing. Okay. So trust the message that comes in with it. All right. Oh my gosh. It's so easy to do this reading. And then at the top, all right, we have the Four of Wands, and that traditionally means like marriage, starting a family. It's think of it as the legs of a table. All right. If you had a one-legged table, it's not going to support anything. If you have a two-legged table, it might support things on some like very strange balance that you put it on. If you have a three-legged table, you have more stability. That's the first foundation of stability. But if you have a four-legged table, then you have absolute stability in every corner. Okay, in every corner. And that's the thing is like in relationships and things that you're in where you're not really vibing with it, it's because you don't have support on all four corners, north, south, east, west, right? um you so what you're building with spirit, what spirit is building for you, that's already been built is a foundation, and it's coming in now. All right, it is absolutely coming in because you have the magician in your everyday life. Okay, so and I just noticed that the 10 of Pentacles is upside down under the magician. And that is because in your current life or in my current life, we don't have the financial abundance. So it's like, don't worry, the magician takes time to do the tricks. All right. Okay. So, yeah, this is beautiful. So whether it means like literal marriage or something like that, um, it's also considered the twin flame card if you guys want to see it like that because it looks like 1111. I don't really like to talk about twin flames, though I will get into it just so we can talk about like where it came from and, does it have any relevance? Okay, so we'll get into that at some other time. So I'm going to again just stack these on top of our little pile that we're making. I think I have too many cards. Oh, because I'm stacking them up in the wrong order. That's okay. We're just going to move on past that. And then the final thing that I have when I do these readings is an oracle message. Okay. And this is it. This is our oracle deck. It is absolutely gorgeous. All right. And so I feel like I'm going to only take three, but if you were doing it yourself, then you would take as many or as few as you feel. Okay, at the bottom, we have Earth. Now, like I said in the beginning, I am a Capricorn, so I'm an Earth sign. But Earth is what is most important right now because there has been a lot going on in the idea space and the spiritual space that people have been talking about for a long time, like the age of Aquarius. And you might not have vibed with that stuff just like I didn't. I'm like, listen, if you're not somebody who impresses me with the way that you do things, and sometimes that's in like uh more, I don't know, I was in the army, right? So I like people who are courageous and who are willing to put their body in the game for a bigger, greater purpose. But also the army is like a function of the government, and I don't always think that that's in the people's best interest. So there are things being grounded in now that were spiritual ideas that are coming down to earth now to where I can believe it because it's being embodied within me. I'm just seeing it. I have to move forward in my purpose so that I can honor whatever God put me here for. And that is to help to bring all this spirituality stuff into a grounded nature that everybody can vibe with. Okay. And I split the deck and it was the sorcerer. And that's sort of like this dark magician that is making things come to life. And that's not a bad thing, right? Don't be scared of a sorcerer. They are extremely powerful. All right. These decks are the serpent and the sorcerer. Okay. The serpent is important this year because I happen to love snakes. I always have. And I got this tattoo started last year and I have my final appointment to finish it on March 5th. Okay. So I thought, oh, that's really interesting. But actually, what I wanted was to get a snake on this arm, but I needed this one first. So I have already established a new tattoo artist who wants to do the one on this hand because on this sleeve or on this arm, I have more traditional tattoos, this whole left side of my body, actually. And on the right side, I wanted to do sort of like Japanese style and realism. So I want like a reflection of this hand, but I want realism on this hand. So I want to do like a pink rose and a queen snake because this is meant to be a king snake because they exist. When I used to live in Louisiana, there I saw one pass in the grass when I was sitting out in the grass. And I was like, oh man, though I love snakes, I'm like scared to touch them because I don't want to like hurt them. And they don't belong like all up out of they belong on the earth, remember? Right? We just saw the earth. They belong there. So I don't want to hurt their scales. And I think they're so beautiful. All right, let's see what this is. Actually, let's just take these as what we should be taking. And I'm going to take four because it felt like it should be. All right. At the bottom of the deck, we have the lower world. Okay. And so we had Earth. What is below Earth? What is more grounded than Earth? It's the lower world. It's like where we can't see things. It's in the shadow. The sorcerer probably lives there, right? Because he's a dark sorcerer and he creates from the darkness and then brings things up to the light. If you don't think that the earth is magical and what's underground is magical, um, take a seed and just set it on your table and see what happens. But then take a seed and put one in the ground and see what happens. Okay. If you want to see magic happen, understand how important grounding is and what happens in the lower world. That's what brings the flower to the surface. Am I right? It's got to start somewhere. So, this one girl who I really enjoy her messages, she's called the Trap Witch, and she is just awesome. She is just awesome. Someday we're going to be best friends. But she once said, sometimes when you feel like you're being buried, you're actually being planted. And there's many ways to say that, and there's many different people who have said things like that. But the way that she said it had the most significance to me and the most like it sat with me in a way that it has never sat with me before in the other ways that I've heard it. Okay. So let's see what else we have. Okay. The hummingbird. I really love that the hummingbird showed up because I have a very dear friend and hummingbirds are significant to her. And I met her only by spiritual means. And someday I have another channel. I actually have three channels in total. So when it comes to YouTube, I have three YouTube channels in total. And I hope that she and I get to have a conversation on one of my YouTube channels so we can talk about how we met because it was purely divinely led. Okay. But this makes me think of her. And so I will send her a text today to say hello. But the hummingbird is often for people, it's just such a beautiful little thing that we put also the hummingbird is attracted to the color red and I have red pants on today because I am very uncomfortable in the color red and I would say that's because like I have never wanted to be bold and out there and seen but also red is associated with like grounding into the earth, right? It's the root chakra. All right. So root, because we like put roots into the ground. So when I wear my red pants, it's because I'm trying to like have confidence in grounding myself in the purpose of what I'm supposed to be doing. Okay. And this is a 26, right? 2 + 6 = 8. So we have another 8 showing up. Then I have the arrow. Okay. And what is more definitive for direction than the arrow? What does an arrow sitting still do? Like, if nothing else, it's pointing towards something. But this is an arrow like a warrior's arrow. Okay. Or like a hunter's arrow. You are aiming it towards a target. And if you understand how a bow and arrow works and you take time to get to know it, the more time that you take with it, the more that you learn how to hit your target well, okay? Because if you're aiming for like a deer because you need it for sustenance and you miss, what's it going to do? It's going to scare the deer off and you have lost your foundational need for nutrition, okay? So you better believe that it is best to learn how to shoot your arrow properly, right? So no matter what, whether you're learning to hit the target or it's not in action yet, it's like this potential energy. It's still pointing you in a direction. And then we have the holy mountain. Okay. And I have been thinking a lot lately about how I think it's so funny that my name is Dale because in English or wherever it comes from, Dale means valley, right? Like over hill, over dale. Now, my last name is Camella, which I don't think means anything other than like the region of where it comes from, which we thought was Italy, but I think it's closer to Spain or Portugal or something like that. Um, and I am not like what do you call it? An immigrant, right? I didn't come here. I'm like I think it was my great great grandparents who came here first. But anyway, my mother's maiden name is Montaldi, and what that means is tall mountain, right? Montaldi. All right. So I thought it was very funny that even though that wasn't my last name, my mother wanted to name me Dale because she grew up next to a family next door to a family who had a baby named Dale, and she really liked that name. So she was like, whether you were a boy or a girl, I was going to name you Dale and then make your middle name Lynn if you were a girl and Paul if you were a boy. So I thought that that was interesting that she named if I had her name, her last name, maiden name, it would be Valley Tall Mountain, right? So it's like this, if you think about what that is, it's like a sine curve, right? A sine curve, if we want to get nerdy and mathy about it. But also, it's a 25. A 2 plus 5 means 7. And to me, that is like complete spiritual sacred protection, that number. Okay. And then we have the council. In the council, the number on this card is 11. I told you we had the Four of Wands earlier, right here. And that's an 1111 card. So we have another 11 showing up. And I'm looking at the High Priestess, right? I saw this sticking out too. And it's a 2. I was just going to say it's a 2, right? 2, but it's also an 11, right? So we have 1111 here because it's Roman numerals. So we have like we have to look for these reoccurring themes that are showing up, and the council is like the galactic council, if you want to call it like that. I can't stand when people use words that are so out of the norm that I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna have to be crazy if I want to believe what you're saying right now. But you do have to be crazy to believe things that um are outside of the realm of what you've already been taught. Because like how often do you use all the education that you learned in school in your daily life, right? It's like, go try to do homework with your kids and see if you remember any of that stuff. It's so obscure. And then they try to like obscure it even more by creating new ways to do old things that work just fine. And then like your kids can't get credit for doing it the way that you are helping them because it's not the right way. Oh my gosh, whatever. So all that stuff doesn't matter. Everybody just get through the normal day-to-day crap that everybody else wants you to pay attention to, but pay very little mind to it and pay a lot of attention to your spiritual guidance because you have a spiritual council that exists just in the energy, right? Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It just cycles through. So if you think of all the great people that we think of throughout history, just think of a couple of names. Is Ptolemy a person? I don't know why, but that just came to me, so maybe I'll have to look it up. Um Carl Jung, I adore him. I think he's amazing. Let's see. Gandhi. There's just a bunch of people, like even present day people. There's so many great people that are out there in the world. And what you have to realize is like you can tap into their specific energy if you want it by like studying what they know, what they've learned, but they were being fueled by the same energy that has always been around since creation. Okay. That's the same energy that you have access to. So it doesn't, oh, look at this. I like this. Oh my gosh. I can't just keep going deeper because I will, but let me just see. Oh, okay. All right. So we had the sacrifice, and that is it was 44. And I see I think I said it in this video, if not another one that I had made, but 444 was when I looked at the clock. And I see that as angelic like oversight and protection. So there was a sacrifice that had to happen, and it's because you surrendered and detached. And that is the best kind of sacrifice that you can make, because you did it to clear out all the old stuff, like that 10 of wands or 10 of swords garbage that was going on. 10 of wands is actually like carrying a heavy creative burden. And so that's, we didn't see that come up. But anyway, um, you are sacrificing all that stuff in order to, like, let's say it was the 10 of wands that we received. You're like putting all the wands down now. That was a sacrifice. Like, you don't carry all these creative burdens because either you're putting them into action, or you're like, I'm putting all that stuff down because they weren't creative for me, for my benefit. They were creative for like somebody else's benefit, for your boss or some family member or some partner or any type of relationship that you're in that wasn't feeding into you, right? Because 44, 8, and we had the 8 of cups. So let's say that that's where it's linked to. You sacrificed by leaving all that emotional baggage so that you can go on to the future, which is always unknown. It's always unknown. Okay. I don't know what's going to happen 5 minutes from now. I can like base it on what I think is going to happen based on all of my experience, but you don't really know. All right, so we had the sacrifice, and then we have the coyote. And like coyotes I think of as being like individual spirits. They're not like a wolf. The coyote is kind of like, people will say like skinwalkers, like coyotes are skinwalkers. And the number is 12, which is like 1 plus 2 is 3. And that to me is body, mind, spirit all coming together. It's like the Holy Trinity. All right. But you have to have this somewhat coyote energy in order to get there. Okay. People don't trust coyotes necessarily, but the coyote knows exactly what it's doing. It can't, it's not like I hate being a coyote because people think less of me. It's like I'm a fucking coyote and I just have to do what coyotes do. All right. So don't worry about it. It's like you have this, the blade that was what was under the coyote is like, it's a sword, right? It cuts through all the nonsense in order for, so the blade is kind of consistent with the arrow. It's like you're using it for a purpose. And what the blade can do that the arrow can't is like you're holding it within your hand. So what you are cutting, I guess you can throw it if you want, but you have the arrow for that, and that's more efficient at it. You can just directly cut with your own power, uh, cut through all the shit that doesn't apply anymore. Okay. All right. I'm not going to keep going deeper with that. I loved this reading. This is the most positive reading that I've had in a long time. I'm glad that this is the one to kick off the channel. And I'm gonna see you in some future creative readings that I have. It's 52 minutes exactly. All right. So I'm gonna let you go. I love you, and I'll see you back. Bye.